and in ways that people didn't expect. I mean, just think back. In the case of Abraham, who was his chosen, the beginning of the people of Israel, Isaac and Jacob were his sons. The inheritance would usually go to the older son, but it didn't in that case. It went to the crafty son, the one who tricked his brother. In the case of David, the one that they hoped the Messiah would be like was one like David. David was the youngest. He was the least likely. He was the last one that Samuel went to. The very last one that Samuel went to. He wasn't the first one chosen. He was the very last one. And Jesus went around healing people. He went around, he healed hundreds, he healed thousands, he fed thousands. But he wasn't a warrior. He wasn't trying to overthrow Rome. Although, as we talked about last week, the case was starting to be given against him. They were starting to build a case against him to try to prove that point, even though it wasn't true. Jesus is the hope. And Peter passes his final exam by saying that you are the hope. And Jesus tells him, blessed are you, for this was not revealed to you by man, but my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I'll build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. The key thing here is to look at your footnote for what Peter means. Peter, Cephas, means rock. And you are the rock in which I will build my church. We look back to the Old Testament reading in Isaiah. Isaiah 51. Verse 1 says, listen to me, you who pursue righteousness and who seek the Lord. Look to the rock from which you were cut and the quarry from which you were hewn. Look to Abraham your father and to Sarah who gave you birth. In the understanding of this passage, this is Darius speaking to the people of Israel. Darius speaking after he had come to a faith and an understanding that he needed to worship the God of heaven. And then God responds, when I called him, he was but one, and I blessed him and made him many. Look to the rock from which you were cut. The Genesis, this rock idea. You have the idea here in chapter 16 that there's a foundation of a church or a foundation of a community of people. The beginning. In a sense, Jesus ordained Peter at that point to be priest, bishop, founder of the community. He says, I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. And whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Peter was given the charge to tell people about Jesus. To tell about this hope. Tell about the Messiah. Verse 20 says, then he warned his disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Christ, but not yet. Peter was the genesis, the beginning of the church, just like Abraham was the beginning of the people of Israel. The difference was that Abraham, his family, was one particular group of people, one geographical location, and one cultural part of the world. One specific time, one specific people, one specific place for the foundation of all that we have. The difference here is that the Son of Man, as we see in Daniel, the Son of Man is not just for one location, not just one place. He was given authority, glory, and sovereign power. All peoples, nations, and men of every language worshipped him. All people, nations, and men of every language worshipped him. It's not just for particular people, not just for a particular place, not just for a particular culture, but for the whole world. That's the difference. The founding of the community was not just for one location, but to be spread out into the world. Not just a church gathered, but a church scattered throughout the whole world. So that all men may be drawn so that all people may be drawn to Jesus Christ. Because he is the Son of Man. He is the hope of the world. Peter was given the charge. Peter was ordained that day to tell all peoples about that. And it was a huge job because the whole world is a big place. So his charge was to charge others with that. The other disciples, the other apostles. 120 that were gathered together on the day of Pentecost. And then more and more. Bishops and priests and deacons throughout the ages have received this charge, this ordination to go out and to proclaim the gospel. But also it is given to every member of the church as a body to provide that little seed of hope to the rest of the world. To the rest of the world, that charge goes out to each one. Not just to the priests and the deacons and the bishops, but to each part of the body. So that more can be gathered to Jesus. Every nation, every people, no matter where they're from, no matter what their culture, to be drawn to Jesus Christ. To be drawn to this message. To be drawn to the specific message of the hope that only comes from Jesus Christ, not to water it down. Just like Peter answered the question correctly, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. You are the answer. So also that was to be passed on generation to generation, so the hope would go from generation to generation, still waiting for that eschatological hope. That hope for that final time when Jesus will come to reign in that way. Until we have that opportunity before he comes. To tell each one we know about the hope that comes from the gospel, the fact that Jesus Christ, this was the end of the training for the disciples. What was next was the beginning of his walk towards his death. His walk towards death on the cross. Because only in that way can we approach heaven. Can we have any hope to approach God and we can be found right before God? Because on our own, we don't have that hope. That hope is only through Jesus Christ. And that is the hope that continues to be preached day to day and hour to hour. And that is not just the charge of the bishops, priests, and deacons, but for every member of the church. Amen.